Welcome to one of my absolute favorite success interviews that I've ever done with one of our Video Business Academy students. This student is very special because when he joined the Video Business Academy, he was still working a full-time job and he expected that it's going to be quite easy to run a successful video business going through the Video Business Academy. However, he underestimated the amount of work that he needed to do, and then at the end of it, he was extremely pissed, left negative reviews everywhere, but then fast forward a couple of months, and now he's just closed $130,000 within just 2 months of the new year. So super excited to share this one with you. Enjoy. All right, Ethan, thank you for taking the time and being here. I'm super looking forward to this conversation. I already told you because of this kind of like hilarious story and great transformation of yours. So please introduce yourself really quick. Like, who are you, where you're from, and how long have you been making videos?
Yeah, so my name's Ethan Harris. I graduated college in 2012, so I've pretty much been making videos since then, so about 15 years or so. I do video, photo, copywriting, pretty much everything creative under the sun, but video is my main focus. But before joining the VBA, I was struggling to get business. I thought word of mouth was a good idea. It's not necessarily all the time. So yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. My mom's a graphic designer, so I've kind of always been in the creative field. You can see I'm wearing a rugby jersey. I used to play rugby competitively, but I had to give that up in my mid-20s because I got to a point where I was like, what am I doing with my life and my career? I need to like focus on that. So I started focusing on that more. And then I found you guys, I guess like 6 or 7 years after I stopped playing rugby, because now I'm 33. I think I stopped when I was like 27. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you basically like joined VBA, I think in June 2023,
Yep.
something along the lines of that, like May or June.
Yep.
And then we had a pretty rough ride together at first. Let's
Yeah.
share this story actually. Like when you first joined, were you excited to get started? Were you excited to learn something new? What was the kind of like feeling?
So it's funny. I was actually thinking about this right before we got on this call. Like when I had seen all your videos online, I was like, watching everything, going to all the different social profiles, checking it out. Like, okay, is this guy for real? Like, what is this? And then I tried to like look up everything regarding Money Tree. I'm like, okay, they're based in Dubai. Who are all these people? I'm on LinkedIn trying to like piece the puzzle together. And I'm like, I don't know. So then I got on a call with Tiago and then Bobby. And I was still like a little skeptical. I'm a very visual person. So I'm very like, show me everything so I can like make a good decision. And the first call wasn't as great, but then with Bobby, he did better. He like showed me all the back end stuff, and I was like, okay, let's do it. And I was like super, super excited at first, but I was working full time, which made it very, very hard to commit my efforts fully to the program.
Yeah. And then when you were working full time, basically like, did you expect that everything is going to be kind of like easier? Because at the end of the day, we always say that like the VBA is a program that works if you put in the work. Like it's not a magic wand, then you just wave it and suddenly you have an amazing video business. You have to put in the work. Did you expect it to be easier, or what was the main thing?
I don't think I expected it to be easy, but I didn't really have a real grasp of the time commitment that it took. So in my mind, I was like, oh, I can do both. I'll work full time, I'll go home, I'll do the VBA stuff. And it was just like way too much. Like I was overexhausting myself. I was so stressed because you guys were like, hey, do all these action steps. And I'm like, I don't have time. And I felt bad because it's like, okay, well, I spent money to be in this program and like I want to do it, but like I don't have the time and the energy. So it was just really frustrating. Like, spinning my wheels, feeling like, especially seeing success stories of other people being like, oh, wow, this guy made 10K, this guy made 25K. And I'm sitting here with my salary, like, damn, how do I get that? How do I do that? And it's like, I just wasn't putting in the time and effort initially because I didn't fully understand like how much time and commitment it really took.
Yeah, fair enough. And just for understanding, like when you joined VBA, how much was your business making? You said you were struggling to get clients.
Not much. I was doing like word of mouth friend jobs for like $500, $1,000 max. I think at the time, the most I'd gotten paid for a wedding was like 3 or 4,000. But now I'm up to people paying me like 10,000 for weddings, which is awesome.
Nice, nice. And not just that, I mean, you just recently posted a huge freaking win. Uh,
Yeah.
what was that? What was that win? How
It
big was
is a
that?
nine-month retainer deal for 11K a month for a really big facility maintenance company. So they do landscaping, hardscaping, sport court resurfacing, remodeling, pretty much everything under the sun.
Yeah. And now that we went from beginning to end, let's go to the middle part because that's the funny stuff. Well,
Yeah.
basically what happened after the 6 month, at least from my perspective, was you didn't get results, right? As you just said, you didn't have the mental capacity, the energy to put in the time and effort that was needed. You didn't
Yep.
get results, and you were extremely pissed. I think I've never seen a person that pissed before.
I was
Um,
livid.
yeah, you were definitely. And I remember you took the time to literally go to every single one of my Instagram posts, every YouTube video, every
Yep.
review platform, and write negative, and not like copy paste it, but you actually did take or did make the effort to write an individualized bad comment on everything. So what was going through your mind at that time?
So in my mind at that time, it was like, hey, you guys gave me this promise for 6 months of like, if I don't make this money back, I get to stay in the program.
Mhm.
And you guys were like, no, you didn't do the action steps. Like, you can't be in the program. And I was basically like, fuck you guys. Uh, so, so I decided, I'm good at getting attention. That's why I'm in marketing. And I was like, I'm just going to go get their attention real quick. And I went, everywhere online that I could find you. And I was like, I'm going to write everything that I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
And it got your attention. We had a conversation. Things turned around for the better.
It did. I mean, let's look at one of those actually. I mean, obviously, you were kind enough to delete this after once we had the conversation, and we'll tell
Yeah.
people why. But I mean, it was literally it made me laugh, honestly. Like it was so bad that it made me laugh. Um, so it went from being titled Nick Metzger, the CEO sales douche, going from these are also sales douchebags to they just want your money to Bobby and Tiago, they're just selling, they're pushy, typical sales guys, to at the end saying like, hey, do not sign up for this. This is a scam video business program. All they will teach you is to send DMs and cold pitches. Knowledge gain in the program is definitely not worth the 6K. This is like a sales guru selling a course that makes him money. Might help you, might not help you as a seasoned videographer. This dude is a false prophet, a fake, terrible guru. There was even one part where he said, like, I hope he gets hit by a car. Whatever. I found it funny. And that's why I reached out to you. And obviously, like, if somebody is that pissed, and not just that pissed, but if somebody is pissed, I'm always personally taking care of it and go like, hey, okay, that can't be. There must have been something that I wasn't aware of. And we hopped on a call back then. What was that like for you, that call? Because on that call, you were suddenly super nice. I didn't expect it, actually.
Well, I'm a very nice guy. I will say my emotions in that moment or in that day that I took the time to lash out. I often like a good analogy for it is like a hungry dog, right? Like I was coming from a place of scarcity. I wasn't where I wanted to be. I was pissed that I invested money in a program that was like, hey, we're going to help you. And if you get to the end of it and you're not there yet, like, we're still going to help you. And then it ended. And I was like, what the, like, these guys said they were going to help me and I'm not being helped. So it was just like really, really stressful. And it's hard to operate as like a stable person when you're in that state or
Yeah.
like move forward positively. So that's, part of the reason my actions were the way they were. But you're obviously a very like knowledgeable, cool, down to earth dude. We had a great conversation. You let me back in. You were like, hey, we're going to do these action steps. Like, you got to commit to this. And at that point, I had separated from my full-time employer and I was like fully on board with like, I have the time now. I'm going to do this. Like, I know I can do it and I'm going to put in the time and I'm going to show you. And then I think like 2-3 months after that, right? That was December. So yeah, 2 months after that. 2 months after that was when like things really started moving. I was doing a ton of sales outreach. I started getting conversations going, and then it was like deal, deal, deal. And it was like 3 in a row pretty much. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and big shout out and credits to you because I told you like, okay, first of all, the reason why we didn't want to work with you and continue working with you with the guarantee was because you didn't do the action steps, which is
Yep.
laid out in our agreement, right?
Yep.
However, then we had this conversation, decided, okay, let's give you another chance, and also from our end, like we want to work with you, we want to make sure that we can make this work. And I asked a couple things from you. I asked you to apologize to my team, which you immediately did for kind of like insulting them. I asked you to commit to actually doing the work, and that's the thing. You did. You did put in the work, and the following months, like from December to February, you were freaking crushing, just putting in work, putting in work, putting in work. And then literally like three months after the conversation we had, that was the win that you posted on February 26th, 2024
Yep.
into the group. where within like a week you freaking closed 130K worth of deals, which is insanely crazy.
Yep. And
What
I
have
just
you?
closed one yesterday. So year to
Another one?
date, if this guy signs a contract on Tuesday, we're up to like 150 for the year, and
There
it's
we
only
go.
March.
Yeah, that's how we do it. That's how we do it. But what would you say to somebody like somebody sees, okay, so there's this Ethan guy. He
Hmm.
met the Nick guy on the internet. He started working with him, was super unhappy, didn't have the effort, didn't have the time and energy to put in the work, but then suddenly things turned around and now he's closing 130K worth of deals in 3 days. It's like, yeah, right. What would you tell such a guy?
So I was thinking about this before the call too. As a lifelong athlete, like I've always gotten up and like worked out at like 4 or 5 in the morning. I've had discipline my whole life in that regard. But when it came to work, it was a little bit different, a little bit more laissez-faire. Being in this program gave me a total mindset change of like, hey, you need to put in this sales outreach work. Otherwise, you're not going to get the ROI. You're not going to get the leads. You're not going to get the conversions. You're not going to get the revenue. So once I kind of like flipped that switch, like yesterday, I think I started working at like 8 in the morning and I was up till like midnight, like doing a bunch of stuff. But I
Yeah.
was like excited about it. I wasn't like, oh, I have to go to bed. I was like, no, I got to do all this stuff for my business. So before, I think I was in this mindset of like, oh, like the money will come, like we'll just like sit back. And now I'm like grinding and it's like working. So
Yeah,
it's
and
one
it's
of those things like you really have to like discipline yourself, commit yourself. Like even when I first joined, you guys had me put this timer thing on the front of my iPhone.
yep.
And that's like so helpful because how many mindless activities do we do a day or you're not cognizant of things? And I'll get to the end of the day and be like, how the hell have I been on my phone for 8 hours today? That's ridiculous. And it's like maybe I was in and out of posting on Instagram and stuff, but like that's way too much.
Yeah.
So there's just little things that you guys have given me that have helped me sequentially throughout this, that have just built up over time and built better habits within me.
It's basically like building up momentum, and putting more and more energy into building that momentum. And then at a certain point, it just kind of like pops, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Nice.
you guys have obviously built a great business, a great model for everything. So it's one of those things like not to say that like you're a role model, but like I do aspire to build something that you guys similar to what you guys have built. And so I kind of keep that in the back of my brain of like if I feel like I'm not where I want to be, I'm like, okay, well look at them, right? You got to get there. We're not there yet. You can't stop moving. Take a day of rest, but like you got to keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. And that I think that is one of the biggest mistakes that videographers usually make is like they do not really care about the goal because they're like, okay, I want to make 10K a month because everybody says that, I want to have a nice camera, I want to make nice videos, and that's pretty much it. But I always was the guy that said there's more to it. And I now see that in you. It's like you go, okay, wait, there is more to this. Like there's a whole other life that I can live. There's a whole other goals that I can achieve. And how did you make that mindset switch going from like, oh yeah, let me just do this 10K months to now like crushing 150K in the first 3 months of the year?
I think a lot of it started with like when you guys onboarded, you sent an awesome hoodie and the book. I'm blanking on the title of the book now. Get Rich Fast.
It's Think and Grow Rich by
Think
Napoleon.
and Grow Rich. Yeah, which is a great book. And like when I started reading it, I was like, oh my god, how have I not read this before? And when I started like doing goal setting and more budgeting and like kind of getting my ducks in a row, I was like, all right, well, like I own my house. I want to own a second property. I want to get a boat. I want all these things. I want to take a vacation again to New Zealand and go to Norway. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to do that on a salary job making 82K a year. It's just not going to happen. It might happen 5 years from now when I save up. But if I really grind and I try to build this business, this empire I want, I could do that faster. So that was kind of it was like how it was more positive self-talk of like, hey, I'm manifesting these goals, these desires that I really want in my life, but I can't just sit here and meditate and manifest. I got to put in the work. So it was really like a point of like realization and actualization for me of like, hey, you said you wanted these things. If you really want them for yourself, you got to do this work right now. And I think my discipline throughout my life, like as an athlete and just my work ethic, helped with that. Like I'm not a lazy person by any means, so it was kind of easy for me to flip that switch. But it took the reinforcement from you guys and the constant training to help me get there to be like, oh shit, I really need to do this work. Not like, oh, I'll get to it next week. No, I need to do it today.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. One thing I want to dive into really quick is because obviously, like I always see so many coaches and gurus and whatever online, and the problem nowadays really is that the entry level barrier to become a coach is basically non-existent, right?
Yep.
Everybody can call themselves a coach, but
Yep.
who has kind of like the actual experience and the actual proof behind it? So you 100% were in the right to be skeptical about it in the first, and research everything. And I'm sure people who are watching this, they're like, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I can trust this guy. I'm not even sure if Ethan Harris isn't a hired actor, you know? Like you just don't know
I have
nowadays.
done acting, but I am not a hired actor. I will say that.
You just don't know nowadays, right? So what would you say to somebody who is extremely skeptical and thinking of joining VBA, but it's like, nah, I don't know.
So one thing that kind of pushed me over the edge to join was when I think I had like 2 or 3 calls with Bobby before I joined. And after the first one, I was like, hey, I'm still a little skeptical. Could you link me up with someone in the program who's like, I'm in the DC area. So like, could you connect me with someone who's on like the East Coast, who's been in the program, who I could talk to? And he hooked me up with this guy. I forget his name, but he lives in Pennsylvania. And we talked on the phone for like an hour. He told me everything about it. He was like, it's going to suck. You're going to have to put in work. It's not going to be easy. I was like, all right, yeah, I kind of know that. And that was one of the things that pushed me over the edge was I got to talk to a live person that was in the program. And
Mhm.
it was like, I had talked to other programs too that were similar to yours, and they weren't as helpful in that manner. Like I had talked to another company, I'm not going to name names, but their salesperson was basically like, oh, maybe this isn't the right fit for you right now. And I was like, I don't think you're supposed to be telling me that. So I think it was a little bit of like the you guys being more amicable towards me and my skepticism
Yeah.
and pushing me over the edge, saying like, hey, no, everything's fine. Like we're gonna show you everything right now. Like it's all great. Come with us.
Mhm.
So I think that like you reaching out with the olive branch was me being like, okay, yeah, I can do this. I can commit to this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just I think that speaks volumes to you and your team and how you operate your business. You're not just douche sales guys, as I posted in that review.
It was
You're
funny.
actually good people who want to help videographers grow their business.
And let's say somebody wants to reach out to you, are they allowed to?
Yeah, absolutely. My Instagram is at ethanharris.mov, like a movie file.
And they
You can,
can find your work there as well, right?
yep, you can find my work. I've been posting reels consistently.
Good. Putting in the work.
Got, gotta do it as part of the brand.
Facts, facts. I mean, content is the game at the end of the day.
Yep,
Like,
content is king.
100%. Okay, so for some last inspiration for somebody watching this,
Mhm.
what would you tell a struggling videographer, somebody who has dreams, somebody who has goals, but they're nowhere close near they want to be?
It's not going to be easy. You have to be disciplined, determined, and you have to be real with yourself. Set goals, set timers for things. Like if you're working without a timer and you don't know how long it takes you to do things and you're just like ADHD brain all over the place, you got to stop that and figure out a way to focus. Whether it's like breath work, meditation, Adderall, whatever you need to do. I would also say like really, really like sit with yourself. I don't think people take enough time to like, I'm big on meditation and breath work, if you can tell. But I think people really need to like sit back and just be with themselves for like an hour or two and just meditate and think about like where you are now and where you really want to be 1 year, 5 years from now. Because I feel like in my 20s, I was playing rugby competitively. I was not focused on my career at all. And then I got to a point when I was like 26, 27, and I'm like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Like, am I just going to be like part time working and part time playing sports? Like, I don't want that. I want to build like an empire. Like, I've had that in my mind. So, you have to be real with yourself and you have to have the self talk with yourself to say like, is this really for me? Is this really what I want to do? Or do I just want the salary job and like to coast 9 to 5 Monday through Friday? That's not for me. I've worked for too many people who try to tell me how to do things. And I was like, you're wrong. That's not how to do it. And they were like, do it because I own you. And I'm like, I'm out, dog. I can't do this.
Fair
So,
enough. Fair enough. Okay. Nice. I mean, thanks for sharing this. And also thank you for taking the time. As said,
yeah,
as
no
you already
problem.
said, people can find you on Instagram at
Yep.
ethanharris.mov, right?
Yep.
And do you have a website where people can see
I do
portfolio?
have a website. My commercial website is ethanmediaworks.com. And then my wedding website is ethanfilmandphoto.com because I do video and photo.
Yeah, got it. Nice. Amazing. Thank you for taking the time and
Thank you for
wishing
having
you
me.
further success. All right, thank you for taking the time and watching this. I'm 100% sure you got inspired by this story. And if you want to run a successful video business too, if you want to get to these $10,000 months, $15,000 months, $20,000 months, and actually live a better life, then I got something for you. You can literally just click the free training that I linked right next to me, here or here, and watch this, and then we'll see each other on the other side.